Hello, 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 hello. Guys, Mr. Uganda, I'm glad you're here because I got this idea. Well, I really had the idea to have this video, didn't I, quite some time ago. But I think I don't know, for some reason, I always veer off onto the subject of ADOS. But I really wanted to talk about this, but simply because to find it interesting, in reality, I wasn't trying to get at anybody. So it was interesting. I had somebody email me and tell me why. They told me, and he was probably, I mean, once again, I can't really and shouldn't be guessing, but I'm going to make the assumption he was a African continental. Hello, Daniel Bloom, by the way. Skin Deep, hello. Ellie in the A, hello, guys. Hello, hello, hello. And once again, Mr. Uganda, hello. Yeah, I just find it an interesting topic because somebody sent me that email. I'm like, I found it kind of crazy at first because I thought, well, what are you talking about? They're not black. Of course, African Americans are black. And I don't know. I just thought to myself, let's do some. Yeah, hello, Gail. Hello, how you doing, Gail? I just thought let's just check what is the average percentage of European DNA inside the average African American. What is the average DNA that is inside there? And I find it interesting. It was, I think, does anybody know, actually? Did any of you guys know what the average DNA, the average European DNA that is inside an African American? Europeans have been in Africa for years, mixing with Africans, so they are not that. Oh, Well, I think the word Africans, it's a terrible word, really, isn't it? Because you always have to be more specific. Europeans as well. I think I did a video on this, actually. I can't put a link in right now, but the reality is it's more than that, Andre. I'm going to Google it, and obviously Google shouldn't be used as a 100% source in any case. I thought it was between 24 and 30, but it depended on which company, because that one was from 23andMe, whatever the name of the company is, and Ancestry.com. I think Ancestry.com got 24% as their average. This is where they're getting their averages from. Yeah, I'm not saying that people, Joyce, hello, Joyce. I'm not saying that black people don't have European DNA inside them, but between 24 and 30% is quite a significant amount on average to have. But I think, especially in America, where they live in a society where it is more favorable to go with someone who is lighter skinned, so it was easier for them to breed, So that's what I think anyway. Hello, fabulous Miss Tasha. Hello, Dustmaster Flex. First thing is, we are not African. Okay. I don't think I think we're talking more about race as opposed to whether we're African. But let's ask you this question, Dustmaster Flex. If you're not African, what are you? Not African, what are you? Dude, you cannot be serious. And then A-L. Face. Hello, face. Oh, you talking? Oh, yes, I can be. Yeah. I'm talking about it. It's not important. But like I said, I had that email come through. And of course, that email specifically said, I don't have it in front of me. Oh, right. I'm going to put it up in front of me so I can read it to you guys. So the email said something along the lines of, the reason why African Americans hate us is the same reason why white people hate us, Chinese people hate us, Indian people hate us. It's because African Americans are not black. That's what was written to me. And I'm wondering, this is part of the reason why I wanted to have this talk today, is that a general consensus in Africa? Do Africans see African Americans as being genetically different because of the significant admixture of European DNA inside African Americans? I'm not talking about ADOS for Black Righteous Home, for Black Righteous Votes Home. Yeah, I'm not talking about ADOS today. It's about Nigeria had a massacre. Yeah, I'm already writing a video on it. I had somebody ask me to write a video on it, and before that massacre, somebody already asked me to write a video on security in Africa. So I'm sort of amalgamating both in together. So yeah, why am I obsessed with us? Okay, well, should people not be obsessed with you? Are you not worthy of being obsessed over? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, my personal DNA is 50% European. Hello, KK. Hello. Yeah, 15%. That, you see, I mean, you would never have guessed in most cases. You wouldn't guess. It's really, I mean, let's have a look. Many Horn Africans have ancient Eurasian admixture that goes up to 45%. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know it's quite extensive on the Horn. In Rwanda, there are tribes with 20% West Eurasia. Yeah. I mean, they have heavy admixture from the Middle East because of the proximity, because of them invading the Middle East and the Middle East invading them over the years. I mean, it's bound to be like that, right? I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of Americans actually, specifically when they are brought up, they're brought up in a society where things are less convoluted in terms of race. Okay, so you have black, you have white. You know, it's sort of, when you say Asian, you don't automatically think of an Indian man. You automatically think of a Chinese man, don't you? You know, someone Oriental in the way they look. When you say Asian over there, we don't in Europe, we don't automatically, when we say Asian, we don't automatically assume that person is from the Orient. We don't think he's from Japan or China. We think the other way. We think Southeast Asia. We think India. We think, Pakistan. So I think a lot of Americans view race almost too simply, but I think it's, in a degree, it's kind of needed over there because it gives people a sense of belonging. You know what I mean? Especially if you're mixed race, you're half black, half white. You can easily call yourself black, and people will accept you as being black. You're just a light-skinned black person over there. What's his name again? That's the guy from South Africa. The guy from South Africa. He's a comedian. He's a really funny guy, and he does one of the talk shows on American TV. And he came over to America expecting everybody, because as soon as if you're in South Africa, because he's half black, half white, people don't call him black because he's half black, half white. It sounds logical, right? But in America, they call him black. And he said, "Oh, I can't wait to go to America, man. Then I could be black." I find it really funny. But yeah, unfortunately, we continue to say there is such a thing as race. race is a white supremacy concept for domination. I don't believe that, Pat Roberts. I don't believe that, because I truly believe there is too much difference in people, in the way, not just in the way we look, but the way we act. Do we act like other races? There isn't many races that we act the same as. We are good, peaceful, loving people. It's scary how, do you know what? To a certain degree, we've had that. People have taken advantage of that. People have taken advantage of the fact that we're good and we're loving and we're caring and that we're welcoming. If we weren't like that, then we wouldn't have a problem that we're here now. I mean, we probably wouldn't even exist now. Think about that. All those black men in England going with white women in England, lots of laughs, calling themselves black. Who? The black men? No, the black men are physically black, right? The ones that are going with white women, and it is systemic over there. I've got to admit that there is, but I think that's more of a Northern European thing, if I've got to admit, Face. Okay, so like, let's say I'm a dark-skinned black man, and if I had a friend who was with me and he was white and he had blonde hair and blue eyes, and we went to Brazil, yeah, we went to Brazil. We both went to Brazil. We went looking for women. I would struggle getting a woman in Brazil. Okay, I would really struggle. It would be difficult. But him, you'd get a woman like that. And I don't know why it is, but the women in South America, they love men with blonde hair and blue eyes. That's their thing, right? Now let's change the scenario. We don't go to Brazil. We go to Norway, or we go to Sweden or Finland. It would be reversed. I mean, I wouldn't, I'd get a girl like that straight away. And he would struggle. There's plenty of blonde-haired, blue-eyed white men in Scandinavia. So it's a struggle that a lot of black men have. Not making an excuse, but a lot of black men have, of course, in North Europe, because they're in a situation where they have a women throwing themselves at them a lot of the time. And yeah, if you're from the Caribbean, a lot of the guys from the Caribbean islands, man, they rarely do they turn it down. God of Jacob, nice to see you here. Should admixture matter? Yeah, it's a good question. That's what I'm asking. Should admixture matter? I don't think it should. I mean, I did answer that as well. I said, no, of course it shouldn't. But to many people, it does. Clearly, to the guy that sent me this email the other day, it mattered to him. He was like, they're not white, they're not black. And we have people talking all of a sudden, and this is recently, this hasn't been going on for a long time. I haven't seen it go on for a long time. But all of a sudden, people are starting to point at people and say, well, you're not full this, are you? You're mixed with this, so you're not, you're not pure blood. You are. You're just like, you're a mongrel. You're a mix of whatever. You're got enemy's blood inside. I'm like, come on, man. Are we starting this? Is this the path we're going down? Really? It's really scary. I truly believe it's scary that we're going down this path where people are, I like to say us, because I still believe that we are, all of us, we're all together here on this. And I'd like to believe that we are unified to a certain degree, and that if I had problems, I wouldn't have to, ask myself whether the people that are close to me, whether they are going to be with me because of the color of my skin, because I'm too dark, or because I'm too light, or because I mean, it's messed up. It's messed up. But like I said, African Americans have, like, I think it's between 24 and 30%. I think, is it 23, you and me, or something like that? There's another company that came back with 30% on average they were getting, but perhaps they were taking their averages from a certain part of the USA or something like that. But that's what 30%. That's almost a third on average, which is you wouldn't get that in the United Kingdom. But I think part of the reason why you wouldn't get that in the United Kingdom is because people who are mixed race are not, they're not seen as being black in the UK. They're seen as being mixed race physically. And why should that not be the case if you're half of one race and half of the other? Why should you be seen as all of the other? So yeah, let's have a look. Talking about DNA in terms of nationality is nonsense. How? How's it nonsense? Think about you have to look at it in nationality. That what kind of other boundary can we look at? Ethnicity? We can't look at it in ethnicity, can we? Well, you got Cabo Verde, Cape Verde, right? Jamaicans, sorry, Bantu Muntu, Jamaicans do have admixture. It's not as prevalent as in the United States, but we do have there for sure. And certain Caribbean islands have it more than others. So if you go to the ABC Islands, I've been to B and C, I've been to Bonnet and Curacao before. Everyone looks mixed race. It's very, very interesting. Everyone looks mixed race, especially Cabo Verde. Everyone looks mixed race on Cape Verde. Very distinctive, beautiful people on Cape Verde. Y'all obsessed over ADOS, but won't talk about. Okay, well, wait a minute. I think I just spoke that one already. I'm typing from the Mediterranean. It's windy on this pretend boat. Going what? Oh, I was about to say. Bantu Queen, what's going on? Nanny Maroon, if you want color, i.e. European, stay in Europe. True Africans only need apply. And I make no apologies for that. I don't quite understand that. I don't quite understand it. Thank you for that statement. No one is pure anything. Well, yeah, of course not. No one is pure anything. No one is. And the thing is, if you travel throughout Africa, you'll see the differences in the races because there are many different races in Africa. There is one person that doesn't believe this, and I hope she's watching actually. But in my opinion, and in the opinion of many of those people who do study that subject, there are many different races, which actually makes sense. There are many different races in Africa. Nilotics, you got, the Khoisans, who are a race of their own, completely different than anyone from the Kushites. So you have the Kushitics and you have the Berbers. These are all completely different races. And I think a lot of people struggle when they go to Africa and they just think it's just going to be one blanket race of people. We're black, and they're not like that. They don't even see themselves as black. They don't even use the word. They don't use the word black, do they? It's only we that use it in the diaspora, taught by the nice people that brought us there. Lovely. Okay. My mom is Cape Verdean and she has about 40% Portuguese. Yeah, it's kind of normal. It's kind of normal there. And especially in Brazil as well. A lot of guys look mixed in Brazil. If a mixed race person considers themselves black, what is the issue if that is what? Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think there is an issue with that. I have an issue with people degrading people when they call themselves black. I think that's more my problem, Fabulous Miss Tasha. When people point at other people because of the admixture inside their DNA, like, you know, what are you doing here? You know, you're not one of us. That kind of. I'm trying not to swear. It shouldn't be the case, and you know, this Nakmizi, yeah, I had him. He was named on that on that email, but he's, like I said last time, he's got mixed Caribbean kids, and so do I. And I'm like, you can't put me down if you got. Do you know what? I got confused with him actually. I'm going to be honest with you. I got really confused, so I couldn't really speak to him. I am Nilotic from South Sudan. Nice. I've got to ask this question, Dong Malwell. Okay, I'm going to ask it to other people, not to you though. Have you ever touched the skin of a Nilotic, a proper Nilotic person? Have you ever touched their skin? Like the jet black skin. Have you ever touched it? It feels like velvet, like better than velvet, like I don't know what. It's different. It's not like our skin, not like us in the diaspora. It's another level of smoothness, like whipped mousse. It's so, oh man, that melanin really does its job down there, man. It really is incredible stuff. Beauty has been defined by Europeans to keep us divided and controlled by the West, yearning to be like them and to possess everything they have. I do not subscribe to European indoctrination. Me too, Nanny Maroon. I've stopped doing that quite some time ago, to be honest with you. And I feel so much better, so much at peace, not subscribing to it. Many people still do. But that's up to them. I can't, you know, we can't always hold everybody's hands and say, oh, black is beautiful. No, listen, it just is. I don't have to tell you. And if I need to describe that to you, then, you know, man, I wouldn't even spend my time on somebody, to be honest with you, to tell them that black is beautiful. You don't see it, then sling your hook. You know, I just leave them with it. Why is the examination of Black Americans of such importance? Why wouldn't it be? God of Jacob, but why wouldn't it be? Are you not important? It's a good question. You know, well, my Nigerian cousin looks just like a Jamaican lady. I saw they both have blonde hair too. Wow. Jamaica's a small island. We've got German Jamaicans that came to the island at the same time we got there a few hundred years ago. We have not just German Jamaicans, we have Indian Jamaicans as well that came there around the same time. We've got Chinese Jamaicans that came there at the same time. You know, we do have a mix of people. So we got quite a lot. I've got cousins as well who are quite light-skinned, red-skinned, we call it in Jamaica. We do have those people there. But the amount of people who are mixed in Jamaica is much smaller, and I think the admixture, I'm going to try and bring it up so I'm not flashing words out, but the admixture is much less, much less. When I go and see another Jamaican from Jamaica, they normally look sort of my skin color. There's no, I mean, like the guy said before, there's no such thing as total pure. My mother is kind of red skinned as well, so it's not like we're all, you know, dark skinned. But you have a lot of Africans who have been pointing fingers, a lot of African continentals who've been pointing fingers at African Americans, and I'm wondering the reason why. Why are they pointing at them and saying, "Oh yeah, you guys are mixed and you guys are not. You're not pure. You're not pure." Why is that happening for? got Danny here anyway. I'm going to bring Danny into the room because it'd be cool to hear from him. You with us, Danny?
Yeah, what's going on with you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right.
I'm,
Seeing
I'm
this
gonna
thing.
ask you I'm gonna ask you the question. I'm gonna ask you this question. Is there a reason why you have a lot of African? I have a feeling I know how you're going to answer this, but I'm going to ask you the question anyway. Is there a reason why there are many African continentals who are sort of using the purity card? You know, you're not that pure. You know, you're this. You're not. You know, you're not African. Like in that email that was sent to me the other day. Is there a reason why? What do you think is the reason why people are using that
It's the
as
same. It's the
sorry.
same reason why some ADOS people harp on the whole African train. That it's low
Mm.
hanging fruit. You know,
Ah, yeah. So, it sounds. I
it's
mean,
low
I
hanging
can't.
fruit.
Do you think that's the because this person seemed pretty angry at actually at Nakmizi. He was pretty angry at him, and he sort of guided that email. He sent the email to me, but he made it out to Nakmizi. The reason why Nakmizi and others. It's like okay, so and I think more he
But
was
see,
bothered
that's a
about.
part of that's a part of the reason why I I have a problem with NACMESI and certain Pan Africanists who try to come into the ADOS space because they confuse people. So in defense
Yeah.
of whoever wrote that email, when you come into
Mm,
the Pan African space and you say that we're all African, when ADOS never uses the word African, and
mm,
it's not about race, it's about lineage. So when you have somebody like NACMESI that comes into the space and tries to, in his own words, create this own tribe, turn ADOS, reduce ADOS into a tribe based on race, when it's
mm,
not based
mm,
on race, it's based on lineage.
mm,
Africans, I mean, they're human, so they may take offense to that or
mm,
become defensive. And it's like, hold up, well, you in actuality, you're not really black like we black. You know what I'm like? We pretty much we're uncut. You have admixture in
mm,
your race. So
mm,
I think that's where that comes from. It's like maybe they were taken aback by the whole notion that, because within some of it, by him addressing that to Nakmizi, you can see where some Africans may take it as like a superiority thing. Like, oh, you think because you ADOS and you coming over here, you da 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 da. But we the real
mm,
Africans, we the real black people. We never been. Then you get into that whole spiel about who's been conquered and all this other crap when you just reduce it
mm.
down to race. But ADOS
Yeah,
isn't about race; it's about lineage,
yeah,
which which
yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah.
which makes his point null and void if you're coming from a pure ADOS perspective.
Mm.
But in the Pan African space, that argument may have some merit.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear that part.
I say
You.
in ADOS spaces, that point is null and void. It's irrelevant.
Oh,
But
okay,
when you're
okay.
when you're but when you're speaking in Pan African spaces, that argument may have some merit if
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
go
True,
along racial lines.
true, true. I was wondering whether it's because of the past, basically, because of the a time maybe 30 years ago where it was sort of frowned upon to be called African. African Americans in general, there was a culture of seeing themselves as being completely different than the Africans, because of course a lot of African Americans were getting their news of what it meant to be an African was what they were getting on the news, which were kids with flies in their face, with swollen bellies and genocides, and you know, a lot of African Americans grew up in the 80s and 90s believing that there was nothing good in Africa, or whilst there were plenty of European Americans and Europeans flying over there, enjoying their time, shooting animals and having their vacation and buying up huge swathes of land and building farms and stuff. And now they've mechanized those farms, and now they're multi-millionaires enjoying their lives. You know, there was a time when the word African booty scratcher. Do you remember that word? African booty scratcher. That was something that was used back in the 80s and 90s. You're an African booty scratcher. And I remember Africans used to be called that. Like, continental Africans weren't always accepted by the African American community, and I'm under the impression that it's perhaps a reaction as opposed to just people just disliking other people because they have admixture. I'm not sure if Dan is still there actually, but yeah. So yeah, I'll keep talking anyway. So yeah, I'm wondering whether that is the case, because it's not like it happened in the Caribbean as well, especially the old school Caribbeans. We had a lot of old school Caribbeans who were like, oh, we're not, you know, we're different, you know, we're Christians. The old school Caribbean conservative Christians sort of distance themselves from that heritage, from their African heritage. You know, no, we are, you know, we are different, of course. It wasn't an African American thing. There was just this thing happening where we were taking a sorry guys. I don't know if I hope you guys are still there, but anyway, I've got Sumumba here. Kamala, a Marxist puppet. Lots of laugh. Wow, we got a super troll in here. Kamala, by the way, is Kamala half? She's half Indian, right? She's half. Kamala is half Indian and half black, is she? Or is she just Indian? Because my uncles used to tell me about the time in Jamaica, you know, back in the 60s and that. They were having sex with anything. They're Jamaican. They were eating anything. So they were just running around like eating whatever, you know, they were just enjoying their times. Indian girls, Chinese, because we got Chinese Jamaicans as well, Indian Jamaicans. They're just doing their thing, sort of thing. They didn't really look at race in that sort of a sense. It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing to hear it from him, that there was sort of, I don't even like calling it interbreeding, but there was people in Jamaica, you know, having interracial relationships, you know, and it's, I think at one point, I don't want to bring up this guy's, I'm not going to even say his name, but there was a guy who was quite light-skinned, and he was talking to me about my mixed race girlfriend, but he was calling her white, right? He's calling her white. And I said to him, listen, my girlfriend is mixed, my kids are mixed. And he was like, why didn't you go with a black woman? You know, I'm like, bro, if it wasn't for an interracial relationship, you wouldn't exist. You wouldn't even exist. So how can you even say that? You know, I just found it. I find that there's a lot of confusion with some people who are more than happy to identify with a certain race, but sort of deny who they truly are. The physical aspects of those people, those same people, being a mix of different ethnicities. Sorry, Danny, I forgot to tell people. Having a different mix of races themselves inside there. So, sorry, I'm just going to go through this. At the end of the day, Almighty God will put an end to all this. Too much hatred. There is, and the thing is, there shouldn't be hatred between, especially between us. You know, even if we've got enemies who don't care how much DNA we have inside us, they don't care. We do have enemies. Should we not be focusing our energy on those enemies? I don't know. We called each other that also. Yeah.
Hey, could we go back to what you said about the African booty scratchers and
yeah, please. Yeah. Go ahead.
First, you said something else before I wanted to touch on, but I forgot what it was. But
yeah, go ahead.
African booty scratcher, like that's such a it's misrepresented. Like people don't really that's such a non-issue because that was something that we called each other before Africans, before we ever met an African, before we ever seen an African. That was just a regular. Oh, I apologize. We're gonna go back before that because you said that back in the days, African Americans didn't want to be associated with Africans in the 90s and whatnot. And from the outside, it may seem like that, but there was a deeper level of consciousness when you look at the music and the thing in the African American community that even exists now. Like back then, it was cool to be African. Like if you looked at mainstream music back then, your Public Enemies and the different popular rappers, KRS-One, we had the leather African patches. Everybody was talking about a different level of consciousness centered around Africa back then. That's kind of like fizzled out now. So I would say it was a deeper connection with Africa back then than it is now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I remember. I had one of those myself. Bought one because of Run DMC. They used to wear those patches all the time.
Yeah,
I
was
remember
cool.
Wearing them myself. Yeah, of course, I remember
it was cool.
this.
You get the custom jackets with the African patches on it and all that. Yeah, being African was in style back then.
Yeah. But it was like more for an expression, though.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, I mean, sorry, Marcus Garvey was a fraud, and Frederick Douglass warned us about him. He is not our leader as ADOS. Of course, sorry, I just wanted to speak about this Marcus Garvey. I did a video on Marcus Garvey earlier today. Actually, it took me a couple of days to write it, and it was concerning for me because Marcus Garvey, for me, I mean, he wasn't a hero. Of course, my dad was brought up in St. Anne's, and he was born in Moortown, but Maroon Town, but brought up in St. Anne's, close by. And of course, so was Marcus Garvey. So we all know Marcus Garvey. We all know him there. But when I started looking into him and looking into the people that are cruising around West Africa now, and even in East Africa, they're getting their feet into East Africa, and they are taking advantage of people like us people like me, I should say, who wants to move back to the African continent. You know, they're taking advantage of them, and these people are called Garveyites simply because Marcus Garvey was, of course, he was a Pan-African. He wanted everybody to move to Africa, so he was telling everybody to move to Africa, regardless of whether he really wanted it or not. That's what he was telling people. He was telling all black people to unify all around the world, move back to Africa, take their own state, make their own state, which is already theirs, and run it themselves without the interference from other white people. But a lot of people don't realize that he wanted to be the emperor of the state. He wanted to be the leader. He made himself the de facto leader of this country. And he also was caught doing wire fraud by the FBI, but was also investigated by W.E.B. Du Bois. So when he was investigated by him, and his investigations came back that actually this was the case,
Well,
you've got
it was
people now
more.
over in.
It was more than just W.E.B. Du Bois. I think you could look at that whole situation as like the original like ADOS versus Pan-African type argument,
Yeah.
because you had people like Frederick Douglass, Booker T, and all those back then, W.E.B. Du Bois, making the same claim that ADOS is making, like, listen, man, we built America, we ain't going nowhere. Because if you look at after Emancipation Proclamation with Abraham Lincoln, people that fought for that, like Frederick Douglass, who worked with Abraham, he understood that Abraham Lincoln, by emancipating us, it wasn't as if Abraham Lincoln was this benevolent person that loved black people. He didn't. Like, if you read Abraham's book and look at the history, Abraham Lincoln wanted, when he emancipated us, he wanted to get us out of here. He didn't want us to remain in America. That was a part of Abraham Lincoln plan that never came to fruition, was to ship us off to like Liberia and whatnot. So when Marcus Garvey came with his Pan-African, it kind of like totally like, it was contrary to the work that people like Frederick Douglass had them put in and was going to, because it's like I say, it was the original ADOS versus Pan-African argument. Like, man, we built America, we ain't going nowhere. And then by him coming in as an outsider, as an outsider from Jamaica, it's like, man, listen, but you know, to Marcus Garvey credit, the UNIA did a lot of good. You know, it made a good impact in this point in time, and I don't have much criticism of Marcus Garvey, because, you know, he did bring a different level of consciousness, and his message was, we could reduce it just to going back to Africa, but within America, he had a lot of points that a lot of people that didn't necessarily even want to go to Africa, but they resonated with his strong, like, do for self type rhetoric. Like, listen, we don't need the white man. We could do for self. We could build this up, you know, carry yourself royally, you know, and we black people. So that level of consciousness, you know, it was needed at the time. It was impactful, because at that time, I think the UNIA probably was one of the biggest organizations in America fighting for the liberation of black people. So I don't really go too hard on them as far as criticism, because we can always find something to criticize people about it in hindsight.
Yeah. I was always more, I mean, in my video, I'm more focused on the fact that there are people in Africa who have moved from the diaspora who are using his life and his philosophy as a framework.
Because they're bums. They're bums. If you look, they're bums. This is why I tell you, we gotta differentiate between Pan-Africans and Hoteps. If you look at a vast majority of the Hoteps that you see, majority of them are bums. Their only source of income when they repatriate is to somehow convince the ADOS people in the diaspora to come back and join their platform, pay them to do something that you can probably do yourself, or you can find an African to do it for you. So it's like it's a certain level of bummishness that comes with that movement, that why ADOS don't even want to be associated with them in the first place, that people don't want to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's interested in leaving America with our 24-hour power supply, running water, utilities, to go with you somewhere looking sweaty doing live streams on choppy internet. You know what I mean? Like, it's not appealing to the average. It's not appealing to the average ADOS person. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then you try to shame us into doing it. If you listen to that rhetoric, it's like, oh, y'all sorry, y'all just want somebody to do it for you, or you waiting on the white man to do it. It's like, no, the white man built it. We helped build it. So why would we leave it to go build up somewhere else in Africa? You know what I mean? Now, if you want to be a Pan-African revolutionary, then you build it. Go ahead, start, build it. But they're not building nothing. They just running their mouth, hoping they could convince a sizable amount of people to come and buy into their little whatever. Almost like a multi-level marketing type. Oh, but about the African Buddhist culture, let me touch on that. Let me touch on that right quick, because people don't understand that whole thing. first of all, African Americans didn't come up with the term African booty scratcher. White people did. If you look at old cartoons from the 1930s, when they portrayed black people as Africans, and you've seen the African American character as the big lip, blackface character eating watermelon, shooting watermelon seeds out of his mouth. You remember those? You ever seen those?
Yeah, I have.
If you look, if you look at the African depiction of those same pictures that colonial Jews in England, it was always the picture of like the Sarah Bartman type lookalike, where you see the African walking around with their butt protruding, and maybe you ever seen those? So that was so those depictions were in American society way before by white people, and that was, if you look at old movies from the 30s or whatever. So when you came around the 90s, a movie came out, Boys in the Hood came out. And one of the main scenes in the movie was a little kid on TV giving a history lesson to the class. And he's like, yeah, we came from Africa and this and this. And one of the little gangbang kids, he say, I ain't from Africa. I'm from Crenshaw Mafia. Crenshaw Mafia was a gang. And the kid at the board, he say, man, you from Africa. If I tell you from Africa, he say, I'm from Crenshaw Mafia. And then the kid hit him with the stick. So that was an iconic part in that movie back then. That was like an iconic part of the movie that all kids who seen that movie back then, so then that was the thing to say. So we used to say it to each other. Oh, nigga, you're an African booty scratcher. Because one of the kids, when he said that, he said, you're an African booty scratcher. And then the kid hit him with the stick. So then that's what we used to say to each other. Like, because, joking on one another, we call it roasting. If you see, what's his name? Who just got Nick Cannon, the show he got, Wildin' Out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You making jokes about each other, that's somewhat a part of our culture. That's what we do. Yeah. So then that was one of the jokes back then. So I guess Africans came and they took that literally as if we're directing that
I don't think that specifically. I'm going to ask my Nigerian.
But what I'm saying is we were already saying it to each other though before Africans got here. So it can't be that we had a problem with Africans.
No, yeah. That's true.
Before,
actually, you're making a good point. It was more towards what you had been.
It was schoolyard banter. Yeah. It was just schoolyard banter.
Yeah. My Nigerian, you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Blessings to you guys. So, I'm a Black American, and I've been on a couple of platforms. So, for people who don't know, like traveling back and forth through Africa, and definitely trying to resettle in Nigeria. So, this is the thing about African Americans, and this is just my opinion. In the African American, the Black culture, there are subcultures within the culture. And since in America, once they freed the enslaved people, they had to put out all these lies about us. We're lazy. We don't do this. We get welfare. But we couldn't be lazy and be all those things because we were picking the cotton. We were working the field. So we couldn't have not been all those things. But they put those things out there because they were so angry that we want our freedom. So this is where all these lies come in about Black Americans. And we don't. I'm saying this to say that there are so many different cultures within Black American culture. The way I was raised probably is not the same way that this brother on the panel was raised. My parents came through this African movement. So when I was young, I always knew about Africa. When I saw those images on TV, I knew that was false information. I always knew that when I was young, when I got older, I was going to be in Africa. All that stuff he was talking about in the 90s, I was definitely down with that whole movement, because if your parents were marching and doing all that stuff in the 60s, of course, in the 90s, when all that stuff became cool, you're going to be down with PE and KRS One and all those woke black people back then. So I don't think we have any type of animosity towards Africans. We definitely don't.
Yeah, I think the majority do don't. I think there's small pockets within. I think you're right. There are small pockets within subcultures inside.
Right.
The African American culture.
Yeah, because we all, it's not like we're all on welfare. We all weren't on welfare. We all, everybody's situation is different. No one's situation is the same. Everybody didn't come in the projects. Everybody didn't drink and eat Kool-Aid and sugar. Everybody didn't, all black people, we didn't, everything is different. I didn't grow up eating pork. I'm Muslim. I was born and raised Muslim, so I'm first generation Muslim in America, from black American people. So everyone's experience is different, and I don't know anything about this ADOS and all that. I don't know anything about that Pan-Africanism. I guess that's what my parents were doing, but just didn't have a label on it. I'm just not. I've never been into labels. I'm black. I'm American, Muslim, and I'm proud. Plain and simple.
Can I ask you a question? You know about Nigeria. You want to live there.
Yes. I lived there. I've been to Nigeria 7 times. Yes. I've been to Nigeria 7 times. I lived in a place called Mina, and that is in Niger State, which is right outside of Abuja. In the north.
Yeah.
Yes. So I lived in that area for 4 months, and I lived in Lagos, which is in the southern part of Nigeria. I also lived in a place on the coast. Yes, in a place called Ilorin. This is all where I'm speaking about is Yoruba land, like Lagos, Ibadan, Ilorin. That's all Yoruba land. So I lived amongst the Yorubas, but I also lived amongst the Hausa people. So I am an official Nigerian.
Brilliant. So can I ask you a question? Did you hear about the farmers?
They talked about that a lot. They talked about that a lot when I was there. I was there in 2015 when Buhari became president, and then I was there again when he was reelected. I think that was 2018 when he got reelected. I don't know, the Fulani herdsmen. It's all, I don't know. I don't know. It's a very political. It's a very political place. I have nothing negative to say about Nigeria. I think Nigeria gets a bad rap, but Nigeria is amazing, and I really believe if more African Americans and I don't know too much about Black British, because I know it's not that many Black British. And I'm not talking about descendants of Jamaicans. I'm talking about descendants of, I don't know, would they be descendants of slaves because it's a very small population, right? Of small,
many of us.
Yeah, so
2 million on the island.
Okay.
And then about 4 million spread across the diaspora.
Wow. Wow.
Tiny.
So I think if more of us went to Nigeria, we would be pleasantly surprised. Minus all the things. I mean, something just happened there not too long ago, but it's under. I didn't feel unsafe. They couldn't believe that I was not a Nigerian. They never made me feel that I was not a Nigerian. When I told them who I was, they still didn't believe. They couldn't believe it. No, you're not. No. You're not. You're one. I said, no. My people are the people they stole from here. Welcome home. You are here. I said, I am here. Where's your Nigerian passport? Where is it? I said, I will get one. So it's all love. It's all love. Oh, I've never had any issues.
So do you envy what's his name? Dynastia.
Say it again. Do I envy who?
Dynastia.
I've never checked out his channel.
Oh,
I never checked. Yeah, I never. You know, YouTube is a tricky place. That's why my channel is just sitting, because I don't know. I'm not a controversial person. I don't know. It's just every time I try to move and put something on, I pull back because I'm like, there's a lot of drama that goes on in these YouTube streets. I don't have time for it. So I don't know.
Unfortunately, there is. Unfortunately, there is. But the thing about this is that most people don't know about it, and most people don't follow it.
Right. That's the
So we're lucky in that.
Yeah, because that whole thing in the Gambia, I've been to the Gambia as well, and I'm like, that was like 10 years ago. Yeah, I've been to Gambia, so I'm like, that's when I heard all this drama, I had to call my Gambian friends, like, you guys check what's going on, and I'm like, what's going on YouTube, or what's going on in YouTube is not what was going on ground in the Gambia, because my friends, they didn't know anything about it, so it's just crazy. And I'm like, Gambia is so chill. It's amazing in the Gambia. That was the first West African country I ever went to. I lived in Egypt, so I've been around. That's why I just be chilling. It's a lot. Yeah, I'm just chilling. I'm just watching everybody's channel. But yeah, it's a lot.
I spent a lot of time in Egypt as well. Way back in the early 2002. I spent a lot of time in.
Yeah, I was there. I was in Medina Tanassa. I was in Cairo. Yeah, I was in Medina Tanassa. Yeah, with 4 little kids though. I was at my ex is a Somali. That's a long story. I ain't going there, but yeah, I was there.
Okatan.
What'd you say?
You still there, Okatan? I'm talking to the.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
No.
All right. There's a couple of topics I wanted to address.
Okay, one moment. Are you muted?
Hello?
I can hear you. But I can hear myself as well. Can you turn down your volume?
Let me see. Yeah.
Okay.
Speak up again. It's lagging a little bit. It's just.
Cam, where are you from? I was going to ask him where he was from. Danny.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a question?
Hey, for some reason your mic is echoing.
My microphone.
I can hear him fine.
Oh, don't worry about it. They say they can hear you, so it must be.
Yeah, I can hear him fine.
What were you gonna say?
Would you ever go to Africa?
Would I move to Africa?
Not move, but would you ever go? Experience it?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Okay.
But you know, my mother feels that way. She feels like she doesn't want to leave. She's like, my father worked here all his life. He died here. I'm from here. I worked here. I don't want to leave. This is my home. And I don't feel that way. I don't feel that America's my home. I've never even waved an American flag. But
this is why I tell you. I apologize for telling you.
No, you're good. No, I want to hear your view. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I say this is the misconception about ADOS that people don't understand. It's not about us having an aversion to Africa or African. It's that we're fighting and we're speaking for specific objectives in America as Americans. That's it.
Yeah, I understand.
It's not about.
Sorry. I can hear myself. Could you turn down your mic, Danny? I don't think you can hear me.
It might be his connection where he is, but I can hear you still.
Oh yeah. He muted himself.
I think your mic is muted.
No, your mic is off, Danny. I think. Now it's on again. Nice one. Now it's on. So anyway, so you're saying you would be up for like staying there, because I know there are quite a few ADOS guys that have gone there and spent significant time in Africa. Most of them that I've spoken to who've gone there just to experience the the Africa that everyone keeps ranting and raving about. So when they talk about Africa, it's not coming from a place of ignorance. It's not coming from a place of, oh well, I've seen what they've seen on TV. A lot of the ADOS guys have actually gone there and experienced it.
No, I won't say a lot have gone there and experienced it. I won't say a lot has gone there and experienced. Some have no interest in it. Some of us have no, like I would go, but I'm not saying I'm going to pack up and leave for no reason. Like if an opportunity presented itself, I would be open to going. But just to pack up and leave and go on this whole emotional trip where I start kissing the ground when I get off the plane and crying and all that, I'm not into all that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not into all that. I'm not going to see no chiefs and bowing before him and drinking out of some bowl that he done gave me or some concoctions. I'm not into none of that. None of that. But I would go just as a regular trip. Just to experience.
I like it. I like doing all that. I like touching the ground and touching the soil and knowing this is where my forefathers came from. Now it's got to have some emotional attachment to you.
None at all.
You know what, Danny? You have to go on. You have to go. You have to just go. I didn't, drink from a chief and do all that weird stuff. When I went to the Gambia, I went to.
You still there, my Nigerian? You still there?
I think she dropped off.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the connection is in this where I'm at. It's not the best. But what I was saying was that when I went to the Gambia, to James Island, formerly known as James Island, which is known as Punta Kinte Island now.
I went there.
I wept like a baby. I think all African Americans, Black Americans, need to experience that. You need to experience that because your life will change from that. I didn't go see no chief. I didn't do all this other stuff. No, I didn't do any of that. My own separate experience going to that island, knowing where my descendant or descendants period came from. It changed me. And I've never felt so much peace in my life when I was in Africa. It's like a pull. This is for me personally, not for me listening to other people. What I experienced personally, the pull to Africa. I am drawn there. And it's you have to experience it. Just experience it one time in your life.
Yeah. like I would go, but I don't even think I would. I don't even think I would want to experience that. Like, I know women tend to have different emotional connections to things, but like
Yeah.
me, I just see things different. Like the whole Ghana, like I see.
Can I say something?
Now this, I never said this, but I feel like it's Ghana almost exploits the history of slavery. So you sold us as slaves, you profited from that. Now you're profiting by telling us to come back and walk through the same slave dungeons that you sold us to with the white colonialists that you sold us to. And you embrace us both as the same. Because you honor those same white tourists and you charge us those tourist prices to go in there. As if it's a business. And like I would feel really like I don't know how I would feel like to have some little Ghanaian dude walking me through a slave dungeon with some white people. You know what I'm saying? Like I might lock both of them in that cell.
Can I? I'm going to say something. There was a YouTube video which came up earlier. And it was from the Ghanaian tourist board, and they was doing this dramatic music and the panning in camera of the slave castle. And I couldn't believe that this video was monetized. So I literally had to send a message and say, demonetize this video immediately. You know, once again, you want to try and make money off the suffering of what happened there. Okay. When you go to the slave in Ghana, they charge you to go in. That's okay. That will pay for the upkeep. It will pay for the people's jobs to have them. I don't mind that. I don't want people making money though of the things that happened to our forefathers right there. I just don't like it. But I can see that they're doing that. I don't like the fact that they are doing that. I don't agree with it at all. And I would also struggle those castles. I don't have that type of emotional contact with what happened. I mean, I hate the fact that it happened. But it happened 500 years ago, and our history is vast. And this is just a tiny part of our history. So why am I going to pick it up and put it in front of my kids and say, this is where we came from? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
Before that, we were just in the jungles. You know, it's all that kind of crap. No. I teach them about the time before slavery more importantly, because I find it more important than what happened post-slavery. Really, it is. Because, of course, what happened post-slavery is just a tiny part of our story, you know, and our story's going to change again. It's not just going to stay like this. It will change again. Hello, Miss Elskamp. Hello. I know there's an echo. Is it still here? Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're echoing to me. Everybody should try muting their mic. I muted my mic.
Yeah, I had to mute. I'm going to put my Nigerian back on. And Bo-Katan, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes,
can you hear me now?
You. Yeah, I can hear you. How? What have you got to say? Are you from Nigeria or what?
I'm from Gambia.
Ah, yes. I remember you were on last time.
Yeah, I'm from Gambia. I live in the UK at the moment. Right.
Okay.
But
okay.
I've got a couple of things to say. The most important. I'm waiting for the socialism versus capitalism debate, or the China versus United States, or China versus the West. in Africa. I'm waiting for that debate. Do you understand?
But which debate?
But I'm waiting for those debates because I know you said you're gonna do them. Capitalism versus socialism, China versus the West, with regards to African relationships. So I'm waiting for those debates. But I gotta say something about this topic today.
I'll just interject real quickly. I normally do debates on a Friday night. Tomorrow's Friday, so we'll do it on that subject tomorrow. Okay.
No problem. No problem. I'm just saying, I'm waiting for that debate because I am tired of this ADOS versus African debate, because it's like this channel has turned into a channel where ADOS come in just to push their clout, just to push their narrative, and all I'm hearing is just Americans speaking their turn. I'm tired of the ADOS or something. Like I said, the mission of ADOS is completely different from Africa. They've got their goals lie in what the United States has in plans for them, and that could be contradictory to Africa. You understand what I mean? ADOS, if they follow what the United States have, could come into opposition with Africa. I see God of Jacob all the time talking. Although I respect the guy, I don't disagree with his feelings of wanting the ADOS to have their movement. I believe they should, and they should continue pushing for the political agenda in the United States, because at the moment there's not a lot of political parties representing Black interests in America, and we have to remember these are nation states with its own citizens and how they treat their own citizens. And Black Americans want a voice to represent themselves. Yes, no problem. They are also, but you have to admit, they do have some xenophobic feelings towards some Africans there, particularly Nigerians. They do have them. You can't deny. It's like how some Britons here, how Britons feel about the Eastern Europeans. They feel angry about it. They're taking our jobs. They're doing that. And like God of Jacob said, the African population's success is getting counted into the Black Americans'
I don't know if you can still hear me.
Of course, they will have feelings towards that. Do you know what I mean?
Say that again.
I'm saying, like God of Jacob said, right? The success of Nigerians and Africans is getting tallied along with the success of Black Americans. But in reality, it's the Nigerians that are doing very well. But the Black Americans are not really going forward. You understand? But that is not an issue to deal with the Nigerians. If Nigerians come to America and he does very well, and he does his best and all that, that's not his problem. You have to address the people that are being favoritism towards the Africans rather than the Black Americans, because the Africans can't do nothing about that situation. They're definitely playing tricks with the ADS now. So your destiny, ADOS, lies in what the United States has in plan for you, not Africa. Africa has its own agenda, and most African countries are nation states with unions about to come, with regional unions and coming to continental unions. You understand what I mean? So we don't need all African Americans. We don't need all Black Americans to go to Africa. We don't need. In fact, if it's down to however anybody feels in their heart, it's down to whoever. And talking about this issue, if the racial admixture, if how we should. One of my friends told me, we Black people, we expect our heroes to be perfect. We expect them to be perfect in every other sense, but we tend to forget that they're human beings with human impulses, and sometimes they will make mistakes as well. You understand? So this is where our enemies tend to pick out the bad narrative of our enemies and show that bad narrative to us, and we lose connection with who are our heroes. You understand what I mean? Sometimes, yes, you will find that he might have done that. He might have had a mixed race kid, but it's down to the heart of the person. It's down to the heart of the person. One thing I don't like at Kafi, but one thing she said is not all skin folk are kinfolk or something like that.
Kinfolk.
You understand? So even if the person is mixed race, it's down to who they are in the heart. You understand? Now, I'm ready for God of Jacob today. I don't agree with this philosophy of a political party for African Americans. I agree with that. But they have nothing to do with Africa, and Africa has nothing for them. Their destiny lies with what the United States plans to give them, plans to concede to them.
He just said we are not against Nigerians. We are saying don't group Nigerian success with ours, it skews the picture. I mean, what have you got to say with that?
Who is doing that? Who is grouping their success? Who is doing that manipulating? Who is doing that knowingly? It's not because the United States could differentiate that. They could definitely differentiate.
Hey, can I interject for a second?
Yeah. Danny, go ahead and say. I think I know what you're going to say, Danny, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think he kind of like he understands it's like he's making ADOS point for us, but he doesn't. But he thinks but I don't. But I think he's kind of like confused by following the comment sections. So, but what he's saying is what ADOS is saying. Like, listen, man, Africa, our fight is not with Africans. It's not about Africans. Africans don't have anything to do with it. But I think where it gets skewed at is that by him following the comment sections, because like he said, he's a Gambian in the UK. So he's not here. He doesn't have those interactions with real ADOS people to really understand what's going on. So he just get what he picks up on the internet in these Pan-African spaces. So he sees certain comments about Nigerians and he thinks that's what it's about when it's not. Like if you see
Danny,
just let me make one more point and I'm gonna let you go because I'm gonna frame it for you so you can understand like what a problem, kind of like what a misunderstanding comes in at. When ADOS talk about like Nigerians and other Black immigrant groups, what God of Jacob is touching on is that there's certain issues that's pertinent to the ADOS community, right?
Yes.
That we're trying to address within the political realm. So when you bring in the immigrant group, because let's face it, you didn't immigrate to America, you went to the UK, but the visa requirements and the requirements to come to America for a Nigerian are so stringent that it weeds out so many people, right? So like a lot of them coming on education visas and things like that, they're becoming engineers. They're doing a lot of good things as they're supposed to do. And that's the way that the system was created.
Exactly.
To weed those people, to weed out a lot of them. Now, what the system does is they manipulate that. And I think what God of Jacob is touching on is that so when ADOS be like, hey man, you're not addressing these issues in our community, what you'll have is you'll have people come out, oh, well, Nigerians are doctors, so you doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, hold up, you're not addressing why the education budget into our communities isn't getting there to make it where our children will be able to become doctors or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. But you're gonna bring in Nigerians, vet them through a process where they're already on the fast track to go to, not that America put them on that fast track, but America weeded out those that would already be on that fast track to go to. And then you're going to use them as an example as to why you don't need to address these issues in the community by saying, oh no, you're lying. We got Nigerian engineers, but it's like you brought in those Nigerian engineers who had already did their undergraduate in Nigeria. You brought them in for a master's program and you're trying to use those numbers to skew the numbers that show the disproportionate. You get it. That's what I'm saying. I think you understand ADOS, but I think yes.
I get that, right? I get that. So I agree with you on that. But
that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not xenophobia though.
The United States is knowingly
like we're not saying don't bring it.
The United States is knowingly doing this to put favoritism to those who are not to Nigerians, you understand? So it's what the United States has. It's the United States will for the descendants of slaves. You understand? It's not the Nigerians doing it because the Nigerians are not going to change anything about that. It's what the United States has in agenda for the ADOS community. You understand? So they are skewing and knowingly manipulating these figures. You understand? To show that all this is Black success in the United States. You understand? There should definitely be a differentiation. There should be a differentiation, but the United States is knowingly doing this for the fact to skew. So your agenda at the end of the day, you are to address your nation, your head of nation states, and not necessarily be hitting the Africans there because they're just taking part of this thing. What the only alternative to that is, where I see the conversation leading, is how Brexit ended up over here, where we don't want any immigrants at all because they're getting counted along with us as well. So you can see naturally anybody will develop some feelings about Nigerians if Nigerians are this enigma to the situation. You understand? What Nigerians or other Africans, you will naturally. It's natural for humans to feel some type of way.
But
Like
the part you're missing though, the part you're missing is that we're not addressing Nigerians. If you look at the ADOS platform, we're not addressing Nigerians. We're addressing the government. We're doing what you say that we should be doing. It's just that in the process of us addressing the government and addressing that, you have immigrant groups, Nigerians, who take it personal, as if it's a personal attack on us. When it's not. Even if you look at the numbers in the greater context of the immigration conversation, Nigerians are not even in the top 20 of the groups that's getting these opportunities. So when we address like issues such as the H-1B visas, that Nigerians are at the bottom of the list and got to jump through 1,000 hoops to get through, they're not even getting. So when we try to address that, as far as the Indians that's taking our job, or when we address illegal immigration that's coming through with the Spanish people coming through the southern border, that's screwing up our job market. Where in America, see, you don't live in America, but in America, there's parts of America where you cannot get a job if you do not speak Spanish. That's just a fact. If you don't speak Spanish, you're not getting hired in certain parts of Texas, in certain parts of Florida, so when we go to address those issues, what happened was you had immigrant groups, black immigrants, like, hold up, you saying you against immigration, well, you against us. It's like, hold up, bro, we're not even talking about you right now. This isn't about you, because you're not even in that conversation in the greater context of the political. So it brings a lot of distortion into the conversation. And that's why I always had a problem with people like Nagmeezy and other people that don't understand the greater context of the ADOS conversation. And they come into Pan-African spaces and they make it about Africans when it's not about Africans and how we feel about Africa. It's about the system that's allowing them to somewhat, almost in a sense, manipulate one another against each other. It's like when you've seen the president, that's why I say you get it, but it's like because you're making all our points.
I get it, but I also recognize the fact that xenophobic feelings will come from the fact that this is a situation in the ground, and you will sometimes get some of those ADOS members that express this xenophobia. I mean, most of what God of Jacobs was writing today it's bordering, even if it's not, it's bordering xenophobia. Really, you understand? I can see in the comment section what he was writing today. So I definitely will admit that the reality. Yes, there will be such feelings, and because there is an enigma there that the United States is playing between the descendants of the of American slaves and Africans or other immigrants. Would you admit that there are some ADOS people there that feel some type of way regarding the African presence in there, and that they would rather prefer to not have them?
As far as Africans, I don't. You see the problem with okay, that's a two-part answer, right? So yes, you have, and I refer to them, if you ever hear me talk, I refer to them as low-hanging fruit. ADOS people who don't really have much knowledge of the economic aspect of the conversation and the political aspect of the conversation. So they grasp onto these tribalistic, even if you listen to the verbiage Nagmeezy used, he said, oh, ADOS is our own tribe. We don't even talk like that. You've never heard African Americans refer to ourselves as a tribe. ADOS refer to us. We're not going to adopt that aspect of African culture that we see a problem with. So it's not about tribalism. So, but yeah, you do have those that may grasp that because they're the low hanging fruit within the movement. They don't really have much to add to the conversation outside of just petty arguments and beefs. But I would say can I just
say something? What you expect from the United States, right? If you ask something from the United States and they agree to it, they will expect loyalty from you. And one day, if the United States was to be against another nation state that's from Africa, the trajectory of the ADOS is definitely to be clashed, and which is acceptable because we are nation states at the end of the day. Even if we are, we are not, 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 we are one race. We are in different nation states. So the United States agenda one day may be clashing against the United States of Africa. You understand? Or another nation. So the ADOS ultimately will definitely. Some people have said it creates a divide between our movement of global black movement. It does definitely create a divide.
Well, if you look, if we're just being honest about the situation, I would say 90% of those African states on their own already align with the United States without even acknowledgement of ADOS. So like Buhari tweeting Trump and, I mean, they already have a certain affinity for the United States that doesn't even include ADOS. So as far as ADOS aligning with America against Africa, I don't really see it happening because I don't see too many African countries that's going against the American agenda. Like they're going to go with whatever America say anyway.
I don't deny that that's the current state of affairs. That's what I'm saying. I don't deny that's the current state of affairs right now with some African countries.
Yeah, so I don't see that ever becoming a problem as far as ADOS in Africa having a problem.
It highlights something. The loyalty, royalty is expected from you by the United States if they were to grant you what you wish, and that one day will be in clash with the Africa that's yet to become. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just bring God of Jacob into this? Have you been listening, God of Jacob? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? I've been listening.
Okay. Cool. Oh goodness! I don't want that to happen again. So I dropped the. Sorry, you still there?
Yeah.
You guys still there?
Yeah. I'll just go into my.
I dropped.
It's fine. But just to address the brother anyway, man. Danny pretty much hit everything. He was spot on with everything. And my whole thing is, ADOS is not. It's not even about Africa, but Africa, in terms of our rhetoric, is used because it's used against us. I.e., when we speak reparations, the counter to that is black people are doing good in America, and then the black group or the ethnic group that's tossed at us immediately would be a Nigerian, and they would speak to the esteemed professions, doctors, and this, that, and the third. So we didn't invoke Nigerians in the conversation because technically they are a buffer class to mass injustice to a group that built this country. So pretty much in conversation, in our pursuit, Nigerians are getting caught in the crossfire. So it's other black immigrants, but it's not intentional. But we have to go hard and we have to show that you can mask this debt, you can mask our failures with these groups. You can try to, but we're not going to do it, and we're going to present the data for it. Now, he can't say I'm a xenophobe because my neighbor is a dentist. He's from Nigeria. Me and him have a great relationship. But here's his story. He came over here at 18. No, he came over here at 17. Went to a private school, high school for a year, entered school, and 4 years later, he was on his way to medical school. So the path of him was easier. He didn't have to go through the ADOS gauntlet. He didn't have to go through that black experience. To him, it was easy. It was easy because he came over here at 17, enter a private school, then enter school, gets his degree, gets into whatever field he goes to without ever having to go through that ADOS experience. And guess what he did 7 years later? He brought his relative over again at age 17. They repeated the process. So to the Nigerian, the buffer class, unintentional, to them, it's like, what are you lazy Americans talking about? This was easy. This is real easy. I don't get you guys. But they never had to go through the experience. So again, it's not really about Africa. I could care less. But when they throw Africans in our face as a sign of success, it skews the picture. So, it is what it is.
Okay, let me say
let me ask you this
Let me say
question.
something.
Okay, Danny, go ahead.
Let me say something. I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying. But the truth is, who is manipulating those numbers? That's the question. Who's manipulating those numbers, and for what agenda are they doing it for? You understand? That's the thing. Your destiny lies in what the United States wills for you. Who is manipulating that? And number one, I get it. What you're saying, your reaction to that, your xenophobia is a reaction. It's a reaction. It's a reaction to what's going on. I get that. I get that.
Yeah. Well,
He
I was
keep
gonna
using the
say,
word xenophobia, and it's like
Yeah, I'm not
you keep
xenophobic. I
on
know
using the word
it
xeno.
sounds
That's
rough.
not xenophobia. Because if he was xenophobia, then he would have hard feelings towards his neighbor, and he would. But he doesn't. He just recognizes the path and the differences. And you keep on saying,
But
"Who
he
are we?
admitted
We
he was
directing,
xenophobia. He admitted
but
he
we're
was
direct."
xenophobia. And it's okay to be xenophobic. To be xenophobic means
No,
you
no,
are
no, no, no,
against
no, no.
another
We're not.
I'm
nation.
We're
not
not gonna let you.
xenophobic,
We're
man.
not gonna let you.
I'm
We're
far
not gonna
from.
let you
I'm far
reduce us
from
to
it.
xenophobia. No, xenophobia is a hatred that somebody would have. There's no hatred. He
But
not once. He just
it's a hatred based on nation states. You know, based on
I
nation state,
don't
based on
hate Africans,
but
brother. I don't hate it. I
but
just want
nobody's
my
saying
people to get the same opportunities you getting.
he's not saying that he has a hatred towards them. He's just saying that there's a difference between our experiences and that he wants our experience to be distinctive off for our own. He doesn't want the two to be together. And so I don't see what's the problem. Like that's not xenophobia. Xenophobia would be like in South Africa where when a Nigerian comes and open up a business, they burn it down.
if
That
it
doesn't
continues
happen in
this way,
America.
it's gonna get like that.
That
If
doesn't
it
happen in
continues,
America.
it's gonna get like that.
No, it'll never get like that because African Americans aren't wired like that. We never seen Africans as a competition. If you look at any, we're the ones who believed in flat blackness. It was Africans who believed in tribalism and splitting up blackness. African Americans are the ones that will claim anybody as long as you're black. That's a part
Right
of our culture.
now,
If you black,
right now,
coming out
right
community.
now, right now, the United States is on an agenda to make you and Africans compete for the benefits. It's making you compete for the benefits. Now, it is competition. It is a competition. Just like how Eastern Europeans come to Europe over here and you compete. It's a competition for jobs, for resources. It's a competition all over the place. So the
It's
United
not.
States,
It's not. It's not a competition. It's not a competition. It's not a competition. It's just a misrepresentation. This is what you're not understanding. Africans are not competition to African Americans in America. That's what you're missing. They're not.
let me ask this
Nigerians do
question.
not dominate. Nigerians don't dominate any area, any industry in America that will make them a direct competitor to African Americans. That
exactly.
didn't.
So
What they do,
there should be
Nigerians,
no
hold on a
need.
second. Hold on
There
a
should
second.
be no
Hold on
need.
a second.
There
Hold
should
on a
be.
second.
One
Can
at
you
a
hold on
time,
a
guys.
second?
One at a time. One at a
Let me
time.
All right.
Go
explain
ahead.
this. Let me
Go ahead,
explain
Danny.
it to you because, like I say, you're in the
Yeah.
UK. You don't really understand what's going on over here. Nigerians feel a void. When they bring in Nigerians, they feel a void. So those Nigerian doctors, engineers, you never hear African Americans speaking out against them. Like they're filling a void. So we don't. We're not in competition with Nigerians to be doctors or like. There's no shortage of doctors. You know, we would prefer them to bring in Nigerian doctors other than Indian doctors through those different H-1B visas and things like that. But the places where the people who we're in direct competition with are the Asians, are the Hispanics, because when they control an industry, like they control in certain places, like in California, the construction trade, the tech fields control with Indians. When they get into position, they lock the door on black people, on black Americans, black whoever. Nigerians, we don't have that problem with Nigerians. Nigerians don't control any industries, and they're not set as the gatekeepers to any places that will lock us out. But the problem becomes when we go to address issues such as the Hispanics or the Indians locking us out, you would have Africans and other immigrant groups take offense to that because they don't see themselves as Black Americans. They more so identify with the immigrant experience. So they're going to be the first ones to come front line and be like, you can't do that because or then they'll paint us as xenophobic. You say, oh, you just don't like immigrants. You just don't like Africans because Africans, Black, and they immigrants, and you don't. It's like, yo, calm down for a minute. Let us get this out the way. So that's where the confusion starts, and then that's when they push back. Now, when you take it further, this is another layer. When it comes to politics, politics is about representation. So when you have a Nigerian or immigrant campaign for a political position as if he's Black American. So he goes through he creates this whole story about his life as if, oh yes, my ancestors picked cotton, and he does his whole Dr. Martin Luther King speeches and all that. And he's creating this image around himself as if he's Black American, but in reality, he's not.
Yeah.
That creates a different problem that ADOS addressed, where it's like, hold up, don't use our storyline. Don't use our storyline, because I won't go to Gambia and run for a political position and create a narrative as if I'm a Mandinka. As if I'm a Mandinka, because the Mandinka people automatically, when I start talking about, hold up, you're not Mandinka. Who are you? You know what I mean? Because you don't even know our history to even speak on it. Now, if you come to America as a Nigerian and you campaign as, yes, I'm Nigerian, my family, Yoruba, African Americans won't have no problem. You know, like, we'll salute it. Like, yeah, okay, It's not a problem. It's just when you try to mask in a deception that goes on in politics in America. And what you see is white people will take that, they create these people like your Kamala Harris's, your Obamas. It's not a coincidence that these people are second generation immigrants and their whole platforms are built on lies, because they know that certain issues they won't want to pick up. So they don't have to worry about a half Kenyan man, half white, half Kenyan man worrying about reparations. That's not going to be, because that's not a part of his lineage. That's not a part of his history. That's not something that his mother brought him up to remember the atrocities that happened to her. So he's safe. He's safe in the political, to be elevated to a certain status politically. Kamala Harris, she's safe to be elevated politically, but she'll use the storyline of African Americans to garner that sympathy and to garner, oh, she's one of us, but she's not, because she doesn't have that lineage and that history where she can address the issues that we're addressing. And that's where, so like ADOS isn't about division, it's just about distinction. Like, we cool with you, but just be who you are.
I say it's a need for representation at the moment, and it came from it's a reactionary need, and rightly so. So I understand that, but at the end of the day, like I said, who is controlling this divide? Who's controlling this divide? That is what it is. Who is showing this favoritism, one or the other? That's what you have to consider.
Yeah. Can I ask a question to Danny? Danny, is there a way that you guys can perhaps start your own industries without, and then once again locking your own doors? Put yourselves in a position where, I mean, I'm speaking from a point of view of somebody who would love to see this in the UK, would love to see British Caribbeans just like locking off one industry and saying that's ours, that is, just like the Indians have with their taxis, and the Pakistanis have done as well in England with their corner shops. Is there something like that African Americans can do, or foundational Americans of African ancestry? Is there something that you can do about that? I mean, wouldn't that be a better solution to do something like that, as opposed to saying, "Oh well,
But I mean, when you're living in a capitalist, see, America is a capitalist society. What we got to understand. So when you're talking about locking off these industries, you have to look at the components that's necessary. So the labor force is a major component to it. So let's take the Hispanics, for example, in the whole immigration debate. why we don't support illegal immigration by the Hispanics. So they're able to lock off a border because not only can they get in position, when they get in position, they're able to import cheap labor to fill these voids. You understand what I'm saying? To lock out other competition. So by you being American, like a Black American, by us being Black American, there's a certain standard of living and a certain standard that a lot of us not gonna, and you're not gonna be able to get a Black American that's gonna work on a construction site and get paid under the table for $5 an hour. You know what I mean? But $7 an hour. But there's no shortage of cheap labor coming through with unregulated immigration coming through the southern border. You will never have a shortage of labor for these Hispanics. You understand what I'm saying? To take over the construction trade. Because if you look at the numbers that's coming through the southern border, it's like 200,000 a month, 100,000 a month coming through. If you remember the caravans that Trump stopped, it was hundreds of thousands of people coming through, bombarding the border. And just to show you how racist and how, I would say, blind people are to the fact, if you look that when they was talking about the southern border and all those and stopping, and they was mad about Trump stopping the immigration, all the Democrats act like they care so much about the people. At the southern border at Mexico right now, you still have Haitians that's been stuck at the border from when the hurricane hit, and they relocated to Mexico and trying to come through, but they can't get through. But the news will never show you the Haitians. You know why? Because they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. And these people in power don't give a damn either. So the Mexicans, they don't care about whether or not they can come through that border. See the Haitians, their only option is to come directly through the border gates and apply. But the Mexicans, the Guatemalans, the Hondurans, they get to come through fucking excuse my language, they get to come through El Chapo tunnels. They get the back routes. They get all that. Haitians can't do that. A Haitian will get killed and left in the desert if he tries to come through one of those cartel back routes. So it's
I didn't know
the
that.
conversation goes, listen, that's what I'm telling you. Like, this conversation about ADOS is so much bigger than Africans, where Africans don't even factor into it. But we get caught up attacking ADOS where you don't even acknowledge your peoples. So like in the whole immigration debate you've been hearing, you don't even hear Haitians speaking out about their own issues, TPS and all that. They get so sidetracked into worrying about the greater mainstream media, and you get left behind anyway. So your only shot is to get ADOS who will be vocal, who's willing to be vocal about these people. That's essentially you fighting for the right to come across the border, but they're fighting to push you to the back of the line. And the numbers don't even add up. The amount of Indian immigrants that get H-1B visas is probably 10 times the amount of Nigerians that's going to qualify for that visa. 10 times. I think it was like 2 million something Indians granted in 2018 compared to maybe like 20,000 Nigerians. It's like the numbers don't even add up to even try to frame this as a conversation as if it's strictly against Africans, because it's not. Africans aren't even a part of the equation. But because I'm going to tell you this, and this goes back to Black people. This goes back to an inherent problem with Black people. Whenever a Black man hear another Black man speaking out, it will always be another Black man to come and shut you up, regardless of whatever it is. Like, they just feel empowered now. Oh, you going to speak out against immigration? See, they won't speak out when the white people speak out against immigration, but the nerve of a Black man to say something about immigration, that's an easy target.
What's the solution, though, gentlemen? What's the solution? Because the reality is, I mean, we could talk here all day about
the solution. The solution is to stay in your lane and let ADOS do what we got to do. That's the solution.
The solution, as I see it, is from my part, I support a need for Black American representation as a political movement for them. I support that in its individual zone. I support that. Pan-Africanism has completely different zone. So I don't know how these conversations tend to overlap, but there's definitely a relationship in America where immigrants and Black Americans feel it's just what's happening here in Europe, between Eastern Europe and Britain. That's exactly what's happening. But there's something conniving here in which there's the United States has an agenda where it shows favoritism to Africans, but just denies something for the descendants of enslaved and Black Americans. That's what I say. The idiotic agenda lies in entirely what the United States has in plan for them. That is all there is to it, and it's for them to figure that out. And I support them for carrying on with their struggle as well. But it's not the fault of Africans and Nigerians there. They are just you can't stop them from coming to the United States either, because people migrate around the world. So you just have to make your agenda more clear. Continue what you're doing. That's all. But just control the hate. That's all. Control the hate. It's not the fault of the Africans there. It's not the fault of them. It's
I agree with
that. It has a plan for you. That's it.
I agree with him. I think we're saying the same thing at this point.
Yeah. I think you both sort of agreeing with it.
Yeah, I think we both agreeing with each other. I think he just don't want to see it spiral out of control, as he probably perceive it to be behind certain rhetoric you might see on YouTube. I get what he's saying. He's just saying don't let it. I get what he's saying. He pretty much saying the same thing we all saying. Like,
what's the real numbers?
He understand our fight.
What's the real numbers? How many African American doctors are there? Because it's got to be I bet you there is a lot more African American doctors in the United States than there are Nigerian, isn't there?
Probably.
I don't know the numbers. But I don't know. It might be more Nigerian. It might be more Nigerian, but it's not.
Okay.
But I don't. But I don't. It's not. I don't like to harp on that, because if it is, it doesn't matter. Like, if it is, it doesn't matter. Like, we don't even think like that. Like, when we go to a doctor's office, if you put a Black man, a Nigerian doctor here, and an Indian doctor here, who do you think the ADOS older Black woman is gonna pick? Who's she gonna go to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like I say, professions like that, professions like that and things like that you come in on your own merit for, ADOS don't really have a problem with it. It's just that, like the brother God of Jacob said, he just would prefer that it be a distinction so that we can address certain anomalies within the community. Because a lot of these things political comes down to the census report. When money gets allocated, it gets allocated based on these census reports and different things like that. So when we want to get funding to maybe a medical magnet school or more grant or scholarship tuition for our community, sometimes those numbers can get skewed and it'll like diminish the case that we present. And that's all we're saying. Like, we just want a distinction so that we can see what's really going on at ground level. Because right now, like, by you asking me that question, it would be hard to really come out with a real answer for that. Because when there's not really a checklist that say Nigerian doctor. So you won't know. He's just another Black doctor like the next Black man. So we won't know. There's really not a way at this moment to really track it outside of.
I'm going to bring Alfonso into the conversation. Alfonso, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on with you?
I'm good. How are you? And you're. I'm guessing you're in the United States somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What do you think? I mean, what do you think is? I mean, we've heard from Danny and Bakatan about this. I'm going to ask you straight. Do you think there is an industry that you guys, as foundational Americans of African ancestry, that you can sort of corner off and say, that's ours, everybody else needs this, but no, we're going to take this as ours? If not, if there isn't one, then how can this one be made? How can we make it an industry, or say foundational Americans of African ancestry? How can you make an industry that you can keep for yourselves, so you won't need to worry about people coming in from like immigrants or whoever coming in and taking those jobs. That industry is yours. Is the one.
Yeah, that's something that it would really take separation. Like I said, in regards to a situation like that you have, you would really need separation. Like how partly how because I agree with some of what the ADOS movement is doing, and some of it I don't. I agree with them separating, ethnic groups based on, based on your lineage or based on your culture or whatever, due to what the gentleman was bringing up before. But you just have to have a separation, because that's what I think people is missing. Because like I said, if you come here as like I said, as an immigrant or as a person that's first generation, it's pretty much like you come here like and it kind of messes us up due to the deal that we have with white America, because we decided to be integrated. So when we did the integration thing, that basically took away any bottom line that we had, basically. So if we was to say from the down.
Okay. I'm just going to bring Nakamisi into this, because I wanted to stay on for 2 hours. Then I've got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to ask you, Nakamisi, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, listen, I'm going to ask you this question, because we've kind of gone off subject here. The main subject matter was about the white European DNA admixture in the African American community. It's quite substantial, really, and we sort of veered off onto American Foundation of Americans of African ancestry sort of being put on the backfire simply because there are other immigrants coming in, taking positions which really they should deserve because they've been there for longer. What do you think is the answer to that?
Okay, so the last one.
That's not what ADOS said. You're rephrasing the question. We didn't say it's about taking positions that was meant for us. That wasn't even. But go ahead. But I'm just saying, that's not how you framed that question differently.
Yeah, it was difficult for me. I mean, I couldn't remember exactly what was being said. But yeah, I'm actually asking the question for myself. Yeah, the question was for you, Nakamisi. Is there an industry? Is there something you can sort of keep for yourself, so you don't have to sort of think about? Because at this moment we're talking about particular industries, right, being taken over by the Nigerians or by other people, other immigrants, like the building industry, and it's difficult for us to get, say, as Foundational Americans of African Ancestry, to get a toe in anywhere, simply because labor is being outsourced to cheaper foreign labor. Is there an industry that you guys think you can sort of box off yourselves? That's a real question, because it's a solution, right?
All right.
Hey,
so then, what kind of immigrants are we talking about here? Because I have an issue with people from my lineage seemingly only focusing on Black immigrants. I've never lost a job to an African. Actually, I've never lost a job to anyone. I wasn't taught to look at other people as taking stuff from me. I was taught to get on my grind and go after what I can. My father taught me that I can accomplish anything in this world, and I've lived my life that way. I wasn't taught to just sit back and say, oh, well, they're taking our jobs. You know, I think if you see an immigrant coming to do something, then we have to ask ourselves as Black Americans, what have we been doing wrong that we can't get these same sort of opportunities? We've had a head start. If we're going to call ourselves foundational Black Americans, and we are the first Blacks in America, then we should have a head start. Just like when we came out of slavery, we had Black Wall Street, we had our own businesses, we had freedmen banks. So at what point did we start slacking and the immigrants look at America for the land of opportunity that it is, and then have them start overtaking us? I think it needs to be more introspective than just pointing fingers.
Okay.
No, but that's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to tell the gentleman. When I mentioned generation, like I said, we don't even have a R. Like when you say this thing about Black America, like you don't even have a culture centered around that. Like we're not even a people in that way. Other groups.
Listen, because first of all, I feel like you purposely framing these questions in a way to bring it back to a controversy that we never even said. Because first of all, I never said nothing. We never said nothing about Nigerians taking over any industry. I specifically said that there is no industry that Nigerian controls that affects Black Americans. There is not one. Now, when you talk about the construction industry, there's a certain way when you start talking about these things where you can disrupt an industry. So if you look at the wages over a 10-year period in certain states like California, Florida, Texas, when it comes to the construction industry, immigrants have been able to disrupt it because the price of living goes up. The price of living due to inflation will constantly go up. When you bring in illegal immigrant labor, it deflates the wages. So now we're not competing for a race to the bottom. So if you're going to constantly bring in immigrants from South America that's willing to undercut at every corner Black Americans that we've been doing, because we once ran the construction industry. If you look at places in Florida, Texas, at one time we ran those industries, but now they're bringing in a whole different labor class in order to undercut ADOS and people that have been doing those jobs. You even look at places up north now, they're even coming in, they first came in from the bottom, now they're even migrating up north where they had the unions at, and they're trying to tap into those things, and they're bringing their own labor force. So if you're telling me that as an ADOS, I should just sit back and compete for a race to the bottom when this job that was paying $17 an hour, that was an entry-level job for ADOS kids, is now being taken by an illegal labor force coming in from our southern border, that I should be okay with that? Then I mean, that just sounds ridiculous to me. That sounds ridiculous for me. That means that we're racing to the bottom. So now we're not even keeping up with inflation as it talks about the wages and things of that nature. When you look at the tech industry, they're bringing in practically Indians with PhDs to compete with entry-level jobs that college students are getting. How is an ADOS kid that's already at a disadvantage gonna compete with these Indians that's getting these H-1B visas and coming in overqualified with PhDs and all that, and you're bringing them in and you're paying them less than what, through these agencies that they have set up, and you're paying them less than what the college kid was even expecting to make. And then when they come in and then they control the industry and they're making the manager positions, now they will no longer hire ADOS. And this is a fact. Anybody that's worked in America know how they do it. An Indian is not going to hire you. They will rather import another Indian. They will rather import another Indian before they give you a job at anything.
Can I jump on here? Can I jump on here on Danny?
The United States has an agenda for the ADOS community. That's what I'm saying. This is the same talking points that Brexit has had. It's the same.
Let the only other ADOS on the call rock, please.
Okay.
Let the only other ADOS on the call rock. So now look, I agree to a certain extent that illegal immigration has a negative effect on specifically my group, foundational Black Americans. Okay. My next question would be, why, if we have been there from the foundation, even before America was created, are we competing with illegal immigrants for low-level jobs. At this point, we should already have
because those low level jobs were once what you call entry level jobs. They were entry level jobs.
Let me finish, and then you're making a great point. But let me just finish mine, okay? So now, you know, if we've been there for so long, we shouldn't even be worrying about those little jobs like that. I don't teach my children to be employees. I try to teach them to become employers. So if we're, you know, looking at Mexicans and Indians that are coming over for entry-level jobs, I think that we have to look at ourselves and say, what have we been doing wrong? And try to bring it back to that Black excellence that Black Americans are, and not look at the bottom, but look to the top in terms of how can we create industries, how we can create industries to employ Black Americans.
Can I interject on that point? Hold on a second. Danny, I'm going to make it quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Because everything you said, it sounds good, but we talking about economics and entry-level jobs that high school students coming into the labor force traditionally had at 17, where you can graduate school at 17 and make a living wage to support your family. In the real world, not this fantasy world, we're going to come in and rebuild Wakanda, but entry-level jobs that those students once had coming in OJT and programs such as OJT, where they can get an entry-level job on a construction site or and whatever, and break their way into an industry where they can start making living wages and provide themselves, probably pay their way through college and all these other things. Those jobs being taken, that's called entry-level workforce. That's in economics. That's what fuels your economy, where you can come into the workforce at 17 years old and build your way up. If you telling me that we should be okay with letting that go to illegal immigrants, then I just fundamentally disagree with you, and there's really nothing even else to even explore on that topic.
Let me ask Dion, what do you think about that? Dion, you there? Dion.
Hello, yes, Dion. I am here. How are you?
I'm okay, Dion. I'm okay. What do you think about what Danny's saying?
He's
saying, yes.
I am speaking as an individual. I am not a member of an organization, ADOS or otherwise, although I'm, you know, hats off to Danny because he made a lot of good points. I'm an African American, and to your question as to whether we should dominate one industry really does not make any sense, because us African Americans, we hold down the fork on every industry there is, period. Now, in my career, I pretty much have been working amongst white America, being one of the few Black folks in where I've worked over the years. Now, I got there because I'm accomplished. Now, in terms of immigration, you know, the immigrants, I've worked in industries where there are a lot of immigrants in the oil and gas industry and so forth. Now, the bottom line is they're being hired because of it's cheaper labor. Lots of Indians, and you know, and particularly in the tech industry, is always the bottom line. All corporations, all finance, the Treasury Department in these larger corporations, they have a budget. And listen, it's cheaper labor to bring over the Indians as opposed to paying us. And plus, you know, I'm not too much into politics and government, but you know, they have boxes they have to check off, you know, in terms of, you know, we want to have this percentage of, you know, Indians or Asians or whatever the case may be. You know, I'm not in the inner workings in that, but you know, you have to take all these things into consideration. But I see it every day in my line of work. I see it every day. But in terms of us, listen, we're too much of a diverse ethnic group. We can't just lock down one industry. You know, we're all over the place. We built this freaking country. We have invented things in this country. You know, we're inventors. So,
but the thing is, Dion, there isn't one yet. We don't have just one You know, the thing is, like you say, the Indians have like the tech. No, you didn't say, but someone said inside that the tech industry sort of is locked down by them for multiple reasons, not just because they're from that background in reality where education is extremely important, like Africa as well. So it's not just for those reasons, but because they are cheap labor. Really, it's good to be able to have somebody who is perhaps overqualified, and you can pay them half the rates of someone who is ADOS.
Yeah, and there believe me, and the one thing I did not mention, there's still discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
There's discrimination exists, and so there are plenty of Blacks who are qualified in tech positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the
variables that come into play, and we're not unfortunately in a lot of those decision-making roles.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. Okay, guys, we don't have a lot of time left. So I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from everybody, because the reality is I've gone over. So I'm going to start with the last African. You just joined the stream, mate. What have you got to say?
Hey, what's up, everybody? The one thing that you're talking about as far as economic power, building an economic base, is something that I think our people have forgotten how to do. Something that's been kind of generationally taken out of us from what we understand is like Black Wall Street and that Red Summer. That was all to stop black progress. COINTELPRO, which is the language in these documents, that's a government suppressing was the language was to suppress Black people, or I forgot, it was J. Edgar Hoover who wrote that COINTELPRO document, said it was specifically to stop Black progress. No other group of people or race of people in the country have been under attack by their government the way African Americans have, right? So
that's true.
When immigrants come over here, you don't have a knowledge of anybody comes to this country without knowledge of that, or with knowledge of it. That's why a lot of people can come to our country and directly come to our communities and infuse business and economics, but they can practice economics in our communities, and we could stop it overnight. That's what I don't understand. Our people can stop this overnight. Just one thing somebody said about our people. We talk all this Black Lives Matter and ADOS and all of this. Well, we control sports and entertainment to a certain degree.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
Jim Brown.
Remembered it.
Yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. All these brothers, Sam Cooke, Ali. All these brothers got together, back in the 60s, and tried to directly address our issue. But every time a Black man, like the brother Danny said, every time a Black man raised his head up, shots fired. But as far as that economic base, that economic power, we had that, and whenever we showed economic progress, we were murdered and killed off, our people, throughout history. So I can understand the position of people like the ADOS movement. But that's a lot of time. But ADOS is rejecting a lot of African American people because you reject a lot of the history and the people who came before you. But
what history and what people?
And if you're going to ask about reparations, hold on. One more thing. The biggest problem I have with ADOS is you talk about money and you don't talk about freeing political prisoners. Assata Shakur, Mumia Abu-Jamal, H. Rap Brown, or the Honorable Imam.
We ain't got time for that right now.
I mean people who have literally fought and sacrificed their lives for you to have the position that you in to say ADOS and all the rhetoric behind it. Okay, so
ADOS
let's go
not
leave
freedom
them out
fighters,
because they
man.
still here.
We can't do everything. We can't do everything. We ain't freedom fighters.
See, you right. You're not freedom fighters. That's exactly what you are not. You
I
paper
agree with
chasers.
you, brother.
You
I
paper
agree with
chasers.
you, brother.
You paper
I
chasers.
agree.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree with you.
Yeah, America owe me blood for my ancestors, not money. They couldn't print enough money.
so let me ask the last African. Wait a minute. Let me put that over to Bakatan. Are you still there, Bakatan?
Yeah, I'm still here. I agree with what the last brother was saying. I understand ADOS is but what I can see from the discussion, it's just the same talking points that Brexiters use with what's happening over here. You understand? It's just the same thing. And if you go down that path, where is it going to lead you? You understand? But I do understand the need to distinguish and have a representation for Black Americans or something with all these changes happening. But my last say is that ADOS community is ADOS is down to what the United States plans to give up for you all. It's a tussle between the United States. You know what I mean? But Pan-Africanism is for each individual Black person. They are completely separate missions, and the conversation shouldn't be overlapping anymore.
Mm. Yeah, okay.
All I'm gonna say,
listen.
All I'm gonna do is
Who's that? Okay.
It's Bogotan. All I'm gonna say is I'm expecting the debate between China and the United States and the China-Africa relationship between the United. I want that debate.
Tomorrow we're gonna have the debate. Right. We'll have the debate. All right. 100%. Just be there. All right then. I'm gonna speak to you tomorrow, but I'm gonna turn off your mic now. Okay. Because everyone's gonna have their last words. That was your last words. Guys, I really need to cut it short here, so I'm gonna go around and have you guys have your last words. Right, we've got 2 minutes. No, 60 seconds. Go ahead. Go on, Dion. Let's see what you got. Do you have any last words, Dion? Dion. Oh gosh, Dion. Yeah. Dion. I can't hear her, unfortunately. Okay, Nakmeezy.
All right, so I'll make it short. So I clicked on because of the original title, which was something about admixture as it related to African Americans, and the young brother from Uganda. I apologize to him now for getting his name, but he
Mr.
made a
Uganda.
video.
He's on the here. He's here.
Yeah,
Mr. Uganda.
His video was made based on that thing you and I talked about, the email. So I thought that was going to be addressed. Jay Primp asked if I was invited. I think that what we should try to do. Hold on, brother. What we should try to do is have a civil conversation about admixture as it related to you and I's discussion. So whenever you want to do that, I'm willing to do it, because I think that discussing ADOS with a Jamaican and Africans really doesn't serve ADOS any purpose. Like, I wouldn't be discussing PNP versus JLP or Gully versus Gaza in Jamaica. I would leave that for the Jamaicans. But respectfully, when you want to have this debate, brother, I would do it. No kiddie games, no nothing. I'm gonna keep my promise to Bantu Queen, and I like to have this debate with you when you're ready.
Let's do that. Let's do it at this weekend some point. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Cool. Safe. Okay. Any last words, Danny?
Yeah. I just want to close out with ADOS is a political movement about addressing economic injustices that have happened to ADOS people in America, foundational Black America. Everything else outside of that purview is not about ADOS, which is why I push back on people like Nakmeezy every chance I get, because he has no idea what ADOS is about. The brother that wants to free Ashada Shakur and everybody else, that's cool. Do it on your own. Create another movement to go free Ashada Shakur. That's not what ADOS is about. A lot of people bringing in a lot of things into ADOS and creating confusion, which it isn't about. We're laser focused on one thing, one issue, trying to get reparations and just addressing these things that's pertinent to our in America. And we need to be cognizant of that. And just the one last thing, and I enjoy that you've been one of the few, matter of fact, you've been the only brother I've seen within the Pan-African space that's been able to have these conversations and really come at it with an open mind to really get to the bottom of what ADOS is really about. And I appreciate that. And I feel like we need more conversations involving Africans and ADOS and Jamaicans to really understand what ADOS is about from the foundational level, not from the outside. So don't let nobody deter you. I really appreciate what you're doing, and you're doing more justice by bringing clarity to what we really talking about and weeding out a lot of the low-hanging fruit that has nothing to add to the ADOS movement. They don't know about the ADOS movement. All they can bring is confusion and chaos and debate. Like your panels, we not debating. I've yet to have a debate here. We just building and coming to an understanding of what's really going on, and I appreciate it. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny. The last Africa. What have you got? What's the last word you got to say?
I just like to say that I enjoyed the topic economic power. Let's control what we can control right now. Let's build a base for somebody to come and talk to us, not from a perspective of you owe me, give me, have my hands out here, give me something. Let's build our own, control what we have, right? And remember the people who came before us, right? Because if ADOS, look, what you are doing is not new. People have been pursuing justice for our people long before you come along. You didn't make the wheel, and with that's with no animosity towards you. I understand you young, and it's a lot you got to learn. But the man was correct. You are doing a great you're a great resource to our people intellectually, and I hope we can continue to build these things, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for Last African. I'm going on tomorrow. If you want to come on, feel free to come. I'll be there. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It was once again, it was really, really good. I really enjoyed tonight. I just, you know, I don't like arguing, man. There's no point in it. What I like doing is coming on here and speaking and learning. That's the number one thing. Okay, and if you guys are learning something out of this, I'm more than happy to hear that and to actually get more people contributing. So if you want to come in, have a chat tomorrow, we're going to have another talk. It's going to be more about centralized about Africa. Okay, so we're going to be talking more about Africa, more about the I don't even like calling it the invasion of them. We will call them, okay, and what they are doing and how we can not just control the narrative, but also control our resources. You know, we keep coming on here talking about ADOS and how they're going to get all this, but the reality is we've got it already. We just keep looking away. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow, okay? And yeah, that should be fun. So guys, join me tomorrow. I'm going to post a time, everything, okay, tomorrow, some time hopefully, and let you guys know exactly when I'm coming on again, okay? Okay, so guys, thank you very much for coming in and listening and supporting as well. Thanks for the super chats as well. Thank you very much. It's well appreciated. That's going to be well needed as well. So thank you very much for everything, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Take care.